No, yeah.
Guys, like my shirt? Chula, chingona, cabrona.
Call it spring, like everything is new. The sunburst flowers calling on warm days overdue. But I call like everything is new.
Okay guys, so I thought about getting 2 books for my sister. I went to Target, I went to Barnes & Noble, pretty much everywhere, and nothing was satisfying me. But then I went researching on Google and I wanted to see a book about fiction because my sister loves fiction books. So I read the reviews, and when I read the reviews, there was this one book that everybody was just saying so many great things about the twists and turns that it comes with, and I thought my sister loves that type of drama. She loves that type of romance, intrigued by it, and it's something that I wanted to hear from her, and that is the reason why I got it for my sister.
I'm speechless.
Then I thought, you know what, I was only intending to get 1 book for her, but then I thought to myself, let me get her a 2nd book. And I wanted to get a book that kind of calls on her personality, that's something that she can learn from and that she can use and practice in her own life. So yeah.
I finally got the code for the package that my sister gave me. I'm like super curious to know what it is because when she bought it, she called me immediately saying, Jessica, I did all this research, I read so many reviews, I didn't get you any boring book. And I could just tell she was dying to fucking tell me like what she got. Like she was like, I want to tell you, but like it'll be too much, but like unless you want to know, but like I won't tell you, but like unless. And I was like Alejandra, I could hear all the restraint you're doing to not tell me and not spoil me what the fuck you got. She was originally gonna get me 1 book, but she ended up getting me 2 books, which shit, I ain't complaining. And I'm like curious to know what it is because she told me that one of them was fiction. I would assume that my sister would have given me non-fiction book, like something motivational or something like that to get my life together. But we'll find out.
I have my scissors and I'm ready.
I'm like excited. Okay. Kind of thick. The first is All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Brian Greenwood. What is this about? It's a love story. Okay. Love knows no boundaries. A beautiful and provocative love story between 2 unlikely people and the hard-won relationship that elevates them above the Midwestern meth lab backdrop of their lives. I've never heard of this book, so I'm excited to pick it up. Thank you, Alejandra. Right, the next one. I kind of spoiled myself already. Daring Greatly. Okay. How the courage to be vulnerable. I'm assuming she got this for me because I'm a really private person and I have trouble being vulnerable like that. So I don't know, like I'm gonna read it, but if I could just simplify it for you, I will. Dr. Brene Brown dispels the cultural myth that vulnerability is weakness and argues that it is, in truth, our most accurate measure of courage. But Brene Brown explains that when we shut ourselves off from vulnerability, we distance ourselves from experiences that bring purpose and meaning to our lives, and wondering what it would be like if we had the courage to step into the arena. Daring Greatly is a practice and a powerful new vision for letting ourselves be seen. She's straight up calling my ass out. Like, I kind of want to call her right now and ask her like why she got me this book, but I use my phone to record, so I can't call her without stopping this recording. But this is really interesting and I'm excited to read them both. Anyways, you didn't have to give me 2 books, and I appreciate you getting me a fictional one because you know that I'm not the biggest fan of nonfiction, but I'm excited and I want to see what I could learn from this book and if I could apply it into my own life. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next update. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this as steady as possible. Today I am color coordinating my eye bags to my sports bra. I just woke up, and so I don't know if it's a wise idea for me to do this while I just woke up because my brain cells are really starting to... Anyways, last night I managed to read one single chapter before I knocked out, and it's not because the book was boring. I am very impressed by this book so far. I'm very excited, and you know when you just read one chapter of a book and you're like, this is gonna fuck me up. And I think this book has the potential to become one of my favorites so far, and let me tell you why. Look, I appreciate lyrical writing. I always praise Stranger Dreamer by Leonie Taylor because of her writing, but sometimes I just don't feel like reading a 3-paragraph description on a door. I don't need to know the crevices of it, the wood they used, the height, what color the doorknob is, what way it's swayed. I just don't care and I don't need it. And so what I like about this writing is that it's very straightforward. Everything the author writes is necessary for you to know. And not only does it keep me very intrigued, but it also amplifies the atmosphere of mystery around the book and the character that they're discussing. This follows a little girl, an orphan girl named Wavy, and I'm not sure if her parents died or not, but point is that she's going to be taken in by her aunt, and the first chapter is in the perspective of the aunt's daughter, and she's just excited to meet her little cousin for the first time and become friends with her. They portray Wavy as a very mysterious character who has really weird habits, and she doesn't talk much, so that doesn't help us understand Wavy as much either. And from what I've noticed is that the second chapter starts with Grandma. I don't know if the book is gonna describe Wavy in chronological order as she's growing up through the perspective of others, but if it is, like, that's very unique and I love that. At first I thought the book was gonna be this romance between a couple, but I think it's gonna be more love within a family. I'm not sure, but I'm really excited to finish this and I can't wait. And if it does become one of my favorites, like, good looking out, Alejandra. So I'll keep you guys updated, and yeah. Okay, if there's like a lot of noise going on, I really apologize. I am the worst vlogger, and let me tell you why. The last time I updated you on this book, I finished chapter 1 and now I'm completely done with the book. It's been 2 days since I last updated you guys, and I had the impression that this book was going to be just about family, and although family is a big thing in this book, it's... y'all don't even know my morals. It's kind of those situations where you're watching a movie and you kind of root for the villain even though they're a villain, but you see the humanity in them. And it's kind of like this book does follow a romantic relationship, a very unconventional relationship, at least in today's world. For that reason, you're kind of like on the fence where you want to support them, but at the same time you don't. Like if you were a person you did not know the history behind this relationship, you would be like,
no, that's wrong.
But because you're in the mind of both of these individuals and the minds of others and their perspective on them, you kind of bend the rules a little bit. And so I feel like even though I didn't update you guys as I should have, I'm kind of glad, because this is a book that you should go into not knowing nothing, and I already feel like I gave you too much. But this is a really captivating book. It's not very descriptive. It just tells you what's going on in that moment and their thoughts and just dialogue, which I love. I was in a reading slump, so I wasn't in the mood to go into detail about all the objects around them. It was very fast-paced. I loved it. Every single character was very complex. They all had their individuality. Wavy was very three-dimensional and interesting, and her whole life story is very devastating. This book is a devastating read, but at the same time it's beautiful, which the title makes complete sense. All the ugly and wonderful things. Honestly, if I don't find anything better, this is probably my favorite book of the year, but it's really, really, really good, and you have to pick it up. It's me like 13 months into the future, and you know, it's giving me room for some character development. And although I don't take back everything that I said about my previous update, they had me in the first half. They had me in the first half because there's definitely some issues. Like, there's definitely some issues that have been brought to my attention in the reviews that I've read. And I think I was just so strung up on the fact that it was able to get me out of such a bad reading slump that I was praising it. So I wanted to address that in this video, but as I was writing what I thought, it just ended up turning into like 8 pages of just things I wanted to say. And so I just think, you know what, I'm gonna make my first book review on my channel about all the ugly and wonderful things, and you know, we'll see what happens. So please stay tuned for that. And as of right now, or as of then, I'll get on to the next book, which is Daring Greatly. I have been reading Daring Greatly by Brené Brown, and I've managed to reach page 73, I believe. And you know, for a self-help book, I feel like I am doing pretty well. I already have many notations. Let me tell you, it's work. Reading it has made me want to reach out to some people. So far, it talks a lot about shame and vulnerability, and how shame and guilt can be kind of like handcuffs and prevent you from doing things. And I like how she asks a question where it's like, if you didn't have to worry about shame, what would you do right now? Like, if you didn't let your insecurities interfere, what's the first thing you do right at this moment? And so I thought about that question, and I decided to reach out to some people. Not that I like do something really bad. It's getting real deep, ain't it? But so far, yeah, it's interesting. It's hard to like read it every day because it's a lot of information to process. It's not a book where there's like one consecutive plot line, and you know, your mind could kind of go in autopilot. In this book, everything she says is very important. So for me to just keep on reading as if I were to read a fictional book seems like I'd be not appreciating a lot of the information that she's giving. I also listened to some of her TED Talks. She has one of the most viewed TED Talks. Just search her up, Brené Brown. And it kind of got me like a perspective of what she meant, and she kind of reiterates some of the things she says in the TED Talk into this book, at least so far in the first 73 pages, but she goes a little more in depth about it and explains it. So if you're interested in just knowing what the concept is or who she is, I do recommend watching those TED Talks. I'll link them down below in the description box. But I mean, for what it is, it's already made me do things that I wouldn't have done if I had not read this book. Yeah, it's going good so far. It's a different system to rate a book by, a self-help book, because I've never read one. So we'll see where this goes. Watch me be like a totally different person by the end of it. To finish Daring Greatly. The reason why I took forever is because since I started school back in October, it has taken over my life, and I haven't been able to actually read a physical book since I began school. And right now I'm in Christmas break, so I'm hoping that I finally get to pick up at least one physical book during my Christmas break, because I still have assignments to do. Final thoughts. I ended up listening to the audiobook instead of reading it physically, which really wasn't my plan. I actually wanted to read the physical book because I wanted to annotate it and put notes like I was in the beginning. I feel like I deprived myself from the full experience of reading this book and taking as much information as I could. Regardless, listening to the audiobook, I still learned some stuff, and some ideas were ingrained in the way that I think now, and it makes me stop myself. Like, now I recognize the thought pattern. I guess once you recognize the core of many of your issues, you're able to recognize them and do something about them. So I feel like this book did enlightened me about myself. And also when I talk to other people, I also notice the same issues, because I feel like vulnerability is something that everyone struggles with. Everyone goes through the same thing. Towards the end of this book, it talks a lot about parenting. I'm not a parent. I don't hope to be a parent anytime soon, but I feel like this would be very beneficial to you if you were a parent. I guess the main idea that Brene Brown was trying to really emphasize in her parenting section is that we tend, well, not we, I'm not a parent, but like parents tend to give a sort of moral code to their children. However, they themselves do not follow that moral code. She says that it's very much monkey see, monkey do. It's not so much about the words that they say. And she also says that it's okay to mess up, because she explains that she's been in a position where her daughter corrects her and tells her that that's not the right thing to do because of the lessons that she has taught her. So you don't have to be perfect. You kind of have to get rid of that idea of perfectionism, which is gonna be a challenge for me because I am a perfectionist at my core. She emphasizes it's a journey for the rest of your life, and sometimes you find yourself in that same journey with your child. So do I recommend this book? Yeah, I do. I think it was very informative. I regret not reading it the way that I wanted to read it, and maybe in the future when I have time, I will go back to this book and annotate it the way that I wanted to. I also feel like Harry Potter. She makes a lot of analogies about Harry Potter. They kind of like flew over my head because I've never read that series, but I know everyone and their mom has. Tell me if you read any of these books. I truly recommend them, especially All the Ugly and Wonderful Things. I really recommend that book. So thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you until next time. Bye.